The massive alien ship moved through space like a dark metal mountain. Its hull gleamed with strange purple lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. Inside the command center, Commander Vextal Morden stood 7 feet tall. His body looked like it was made of living crystal. Sharp edges covered his arms and chest like natural armor. His 4 eyes glowed yellow as he stared at the small space station ahead. "This is the human outpost?" Mordoun asked. His voice sounded like rocks grinding. "Together." "Yes, Commander," replied his second officer, Kexley. "The species calls themselves humans. They want to join our military forces." Morden made a sound that might have been laughter. In all his years fighting across the galaxy, he had seen many weak species try to join the Vextari Dominion. Most failed the first test. These humans would be no different. "What does their file say?" Mordoun asked. Kexley touched a glowing panel. Words appeared in the air between them. "Strange, Commander. It says their homeworld is listed as a Class 12, Death World." Morden's 4 eyes narrowed. "That must be wrong. No thinking species can live on a Death World. Check the file again." "I have checked 3 times, Commander. It says Class 12 Death World, the most dangerous level." "Then their computer system has an error," Morden said firmly. "Look at their station. It is tiny. Their ships are small. They probably live on some quiet garden world and eat plants all day." The human space station grew larger as they approached. It was indeed small compared to Vextari military bases. Made of white metal and glass, it spun slowly in the black of space. Lights twinkled from its windows like stars. "Commander," came a voice through the communication system. "This is Captain Lee Taman of the Earth Defense Force. Welcome to Orbital Station 7. We are ready to receive you." Morden was surprised. The human's voice was calm and steady. Most species sounded nervous when meeting the Vextari for the first time. The Vextari were known across the galaxy as the greatest warriors. Their crystal skin could stop most weapons. Their strength could crush steel. Yet this human sounded like he was talking to an old friend. "Captain Taman," Mordoun replied. "I am Commander Mordoun of the Vextari Dominion. We are here to test your species for military service." "Understood, Commander. Docking Bay 3 is ready for your shuttle. Dr. Park, Sora, and I will meet you there." Mordoun turned to his warriors. 5 of the best Vextari soldiers stood behind him. Each one had fought in 100 battles. Their crystal armor showed the scars of war. "Remember," Mordoun told them, "we must be polite to these soft creatures, but do not expect much." The Vextari shuttle docked with the human station. As the doors opened, Mordoun smelled something strange. The air was warm and humid. It smelled like growing things and water. Most space stations smelled like metal and machines. This place smelled alive. Captain Lee Taman waited for them in the docking bay. He was much smaller than Mordoun expected. The human stood only 6 feet tall. His skin was soft and brown. He wore a blue uniform with silver marks on his shoulders. Next to him stood a woman with long black hair. She also looked small and fragile. "Commander Mordoun," Captain Taman said with a bow. "Welcome aboard. I am Captain Taman, and this is Dr. Park Sora, our science officer." Dr. Park Sora stepped forward. "We are honored to meet the famous Vextari warriors," she said. Her voice was gentle but clear. "Your people are legends across the galaxy." Morden studied the 2 humans. They showed no fear. Their hands were steady. Their eyes met his directly. This was unusual. Most species looked away when meeting Vextari warriors for the first time. Your species wishes to join our military forces, Mordoon said. This requires testing. We must see if humans can fight. Of course, Captain Taman replied. We have prepared demonstrations on our homeworld. But first, would you like to tour our station? See how we live? As they walked through the station's halls, Morden noticed more strange things. The walls were painted with bright colors. Pictures of landscapes hung everywhere. Green forests, blue oceans, snow-covered mountains. The humans had made their metal station look like a living world. Your home planet, Dr. Park Sora said, noticing his interest. Earth. We carry pieces of it with us wherever we go. These pictures, Mordoon said, pointing at an image of a vast ocean. Your world has much water? About 70% of the surface, Dr. Park Sora replied. The rest is land with many different environments. Morden exchanged looks with his warriors. Worlds with that much water were usually dangerous. Too much weather. Too many storms. And you have cities on this world. Oh yes, Captain Taman said. Billions of humans live on Earth. In cities, in forests, in deserts, even in the frozen areas near the poles. One of Morden's warriors, Texlar, spoke up. You live in frozen areas? How is this possible for soft-skinned creatures, Dr. Park? Sora smiled. It was a strange expression that showed white teeth. Morden had never seen anything like it. Humans are very good at adapting, she said. We have lived on Earth for thousands of years. We learn to survive in all its environments. They entered a large room with windows looking out at space. Tables and chairs filled the area. Humans sat together, eating and talking. Their voices created a low, pleasant sound. Some of them looked up at the Vextari warriors. They seemed curious but not afraid. This is our mess hall, Captain Taman explained, where we eat and relax. Morden watched the humans. They moved easily despite the station's spinning motion. Most species needed time to adjust to artificial gravity. These humans seemed perfectly comfortable. Captain Taman, Mordoon said slowly, your file says Earth is a Class 12 death world. This must be an error. Dr. Park Sora and Captain Taman looked at each other. Something passed between them. An understanding. No error, Commander, Dr. Park Sora said quietly. Earth is indeed classified as a Class 12 death world. Perhaps the most dangerous planet in this galaxy. Mordoon's 4 eyes widened. Impossible. No thinking species could evolve on such a world. And yet, Captain Taman said, spreading his arms to indicate the humans around them. Here we are. Room suddenly felt different to Morden. The casual conversations continued. Humans laughed and ate their food. But now he looked at them with new eyes. If they really came from a death world, how? Texlar asked. How do soft creatures like you survive on a death world? Dr. Park Sora's smile returned. But this time, Morden noticed something else in her eyes. Something that made his crystal skin feel cold. Perhaps, she said gently, you should visit Earth and see for yourself. We have prepared demonstrations of human capabilities. I think you will find them educational. Morden nodded slowly. His confidence was beginning to crack like his crystal armor after a hard battle. These humans were not what they seemed. Their calm behavior, their comfort in dangerous environments, their lack of fear when meeting Vextari warriors. Yes, he said. We will visit your death world. We will see these capabilities. As they continued the tour, Morden found himself watching the humans more carefully. They moved with a quiet grace. Their eyes saw everything, and when they smiled, he caught glimpses of something that made him very uncomfortable. These creatures might be far more dangerous than they appeared. The shuttle ride to Earth's surface was unlike anything Commander Morden had experienced. As they broke through the atmosphere, he saw the death world that supposedly created these humans. Blue oceans stretched to the horizon. White clouds swirled in massive spirals. Lightning flashed inside towering storms. Even from space, he could see the planet's violence. "Your weather systems are very active," Texelar observed, pressing his crystal face to the window. Captain Taman, who piloted the shuttle himself, glanced back with that strange smile. "We're actually having pretty calm weather today," he said. "Last week we had 3 hurricanes and a volcanic eruption." Dr. Park Sora pointed to a chain of mountains below. "That's where we're going. The testing facility is built into the mountains themselves." Morden studied the landscape as they descended. The mountains rose like giant teeth from the earth. Snow covered their peaks even though the valleys looked warm and green. Water crashed down their sides in huge waterfalls. This world was beautiful, but Morden could see the danger in every feature. The shuttle landed on a flat area carved from solid rock. As the doors opened, Morden felt the planet's atmosphere hit him like a physical force. The air was thick and heavy. It carried the smell of growing things, water, and something else, something wild and untamed. "Welcome to Earth," said a new voice. A human woman in military uniform walked toward them. She was older than Captain Taman, with gray in her black hair. Her bearing showed years of command experience. "This is Colonel Yoon Ji-won," Dr. Park Sora said. "She runs this facility." Colonel Yoon bowed in the same way Captain Taman had. "Commander Morden, we are honored by your visit. Our demonstration teams are ready." The testing facility was built into the mountain itself. Tunnels and rooms had been carved from living rock. Electric lights showed the way deeper into the earth. Morden was impressed despite himself. Building something like this would require enormous effort and skill. "First," Colonel Yoon said as they walked, "we would like to see what Vexatari warriors can do. It will help us plan our own demonstrations." They entered a large underground chamber. Targets lined one wall. Weapons racks stood along another. The ceiling stretched high above them, disappearing into shadows. "Very well," Morden said. "Texelar, show them our capabilities." Texelar stepped forward. He was the largest of Morden's warriors, nearly 8 feet tall. His crystal skin gleamed under the lights. He picked up one of the human weapons from the rack. It looked tiny in his massive hands. "This projectile weapon," he said, examining the rifle. "Primitive, but functional." Texelar raised the weapon and fired. The sound echoed through the chamber like thunder. The bullet struck the target dead center. He fired again and again, each shot perfect. The humans watched quietly. Morden noticed they didn't seem impressed or surprised. "Now without weapons," Texelar announced. He walked to a section of the chamber where thick metal plates hung from chains. Each plate was 2 inches thick. Texelar drew back his fist and punched. The sound was like a bell being struck. The metal plate bent and cracked. He hit it again, and it broke in half. "Vexatari strength," Morden explained proudly. "Our crystal bones and muscles make us much stronger than most species." "Very impressive," Colonel Yoon said. But her tone was polite rather than amazed. Another Vextari warrior, Nex 4, demonstrated their speed. He moved across the chamber faster than most eyes could follow. His crystal armor made no sound as he ran. He appeared and disappeared like a ghost. "And our energy weapons," Morden said, drawing his sidearm. The weapon hummed with power. A beam of bright blue light shot out and melted a hole through 3 metal targets. The smell of burned metal filled the air. When the demonstrations ended, the humans clapped politely, but Morden sensed they were not as amazed as other species usually were. "Thank you," Colonel Yoon said. "Now, would you like to see some human capabilities?" A young human man entered the chamber. He wore the same blue uniform as the others, but with different markings. "This is Lieutenant Nam Hyok," Colonel Yoon said. "He will demonstrate human marksmanship." Lieutenant Nam picked up the same type of rifle Texler had used, but he also picked up several other weapons, a smaller gun, a bow with arrows, even a knife. He moved to the firing line and began to shoot, but unlike Texelar's precise shots, Lieutenant Nam fired rapidly. The rifle chattered in his hands like an angry insect. When the smoke cleared, every target had multiple holes, all perfectly placed. "Human reflexes and hand-eye coordination," Dr. Park Sora explained. "Evolution on a dangerous world made us very good at hitting moving targets." Lieutenant Nam switched to the bow. He drew and fired arrows so quickly his hands blurred. Each arrow found its mark. Then he threw the knife. It spun through the air and stuck deep into the target's center. "We adapt to different weapons quickly," Lieutenant Nam said. "On Earth, you must use whatever tools you can find." Morden felt the first stirring of unease. The human skill was impressive, but more than that, there was something cold and efficient about it. No wasted motion, no hesitation. "And human strength?" Texler asked, clearly skeptical. Another human entered. This one was smaller than Lieutenant Nam, a woman with short hair and calm eyes. "Sergeant Oh Minho," Colonel Yoon announced. "She will demonstrate human endurance and determination." Sergeant Oh walked to the metal plates that Texlar had broken, but instead of punching them, she began to move around them. She jumped and climbed and rolled. She moved like water, flowing around obstacles that would stop other creatures. "Humans are not as strong as Vextari," Dr. Park Sora admitted. "But we are very good at finding ways around problems." Sergeant O picked up a small device and attached it to one of the unbroken metal plates. She pressed a button and stepped back. The device beeped once, then exploded. The metal plate disappeared in a cloud of smoke and fire. "We make tools to be stronger," Sergeant O said simply. The demonstration continued for 2 hours. Humans showed their ability to work together in groups. They communicated without speaking, using hand signals and eye contact. They solved complex problems quickly. They fought with a combination of technology and tactics that impressed even Morden. But what bothered him most was their attitude. They never seemed excited or angry or afraid. They approached each task with the same calm efficiency, like killing was just another job to be done well. "Very impressive," Morden admitted as the formal demonstrations ended. "Your species has clearly adapted to your dangerous world." "Thank you, Commander," Colonel Yoon said. "But we have only shown you our basic capabilities. The real demonstrations will happen tomorrow when we show you our auxiliary forces." Auxiliary forces? Next 4 asked. "Other units that fight alongside human soldiers," Captain Taman explained. "They're unique." Dr. Park Sora checked a device on her wrist. "Speaking of which, Sergeant O, don't you need to go walk your partner?" Sergeant O nodded. "Yes, he gets restless if he doesn't get enough exercise." Morden perked up with interest. "Your partner? Another soldier?" "In a way," Sergeant O said with a small smile. "We've been working together for 3 years. He's very good at his job." "What kind of soldier?" Texlar asked. The humans exchanged those looks again, the ones that suggested they knew something the Vextari did not. "Perhaps it would be better to show you tomorrow," Dr. Park Sora said, "when you can see our auxiliary forces in action." "These auxiliary forces," Mordun said slowly. "Are they human?" "Not exactly," Colonel Yoon replied, "but they have served alongside humans for thousands of years. They are completely loyal and very effective in combat." Mordun's crystal skin tingled with curiosity and something else. Something that might have been the first touch of fear. These humans kept surprising him. Their planet was deadlier than he had imagined. Their skills were more advanced than he had expected, and now they hinted at allies he had never heard of. "We look forward to meeting these auxiliary forces," he said carefully. "Oh, you will," Captain Taman said with that unsettling smile. "I guarantee you will never forget the experience." As they left the testing chamber, Mordun found himself wondering what other secrets this Death World species was hiding. The humans moved through their dangerous world like they owned it. They fought like creatures born for war. And tomorrow, he would meet the mysterious allies who served them. For the first time in his long military career, Commander Mordun was not sure he wanted to know what came next. The next morning came too early for Commander Mordun. He had spent the night in the human facility, and the experience had been disturbing. The walls were thick, but he could still hear the sounds of Earth's wilderness outside. Strange calls and howls echoed through the darkness. Things moved in the forest that surrounded the mountain base. Things that sounded large and dangerous. The humans had slept peacefully through it all. Now, as he stood in the main courtyard with his warriors, Mordun felt the planet's morning air on his crystal skin. It was warm and humid, carrying scents he couldn't identify. Above them, the sky was a shocking blue color with white clouds drifting across it. 2 small moons were still visible in the daylight. "The auxiliary forces are ready for demonstration," Colonel Yoon announced. She looked fresh and alert, as if the night sounds hadn't bothered her at all. Dr. Park Sora joined them, carrying a small device. "Before we begin, I should explain something about human military partnerships. We have worked with our auxiliary forces for over 15,000 years. The relationship is unique in the galaxy." "What kind of relationship?" Texlar asked. "Mutual. Loyalty," Captain Taman said. "They serve us and we care for them. They follow our commands and we protect them." Mordun frowned. "You mean slave soldiers? Many species use forced labor." The humans exchanged those looks again. Dr. Park Sora shook her head. "Not slaves, Commander. Partners. Willing allies who choose to serve alongside us. No species volunteers to be auxiliary forces," Nextforce said firmly. "They are conquered and forced to serve?" "Perhaps," Dr. Park Sora said quietly. "You should see for yourself before making judgments." She spoke into her device. "Sergeant O, bring your partner to the main courtyard. We're ready for the demonstration." Mordun and his warriors waited. He expected to see another human unit march out. Perhaps smaller humans, or ones with different equipment. Maybe humans who had been genetically modified for specific tasks. What he did not expect was the sound that came first. A low, rhythmic panting. The soft pad of feet on stone. And then, walking beside Sergeant O Minho, came something that made every Vextari warrior freeze in absolute terror. It was roughly the size of a small human, but it moved on 4 legs instead of 2. Its body was covered in thick fur, colored in shades of brown and black. Its head was large and wedge-shaped, with a long snout filled with sharp white teeth. Its eyes were dark and intelligent, constantly moving to scan the area. But the most terrifying thing was the way it walked beside Sergeant O. There was no chain or rope holding it, no cage or restraints. It moved freely, staying close to the human of its own choice. "This is back," Sergeant O said casually, as if she hadn't just brought a living nightmare into their presence. "He's been my partner for 3 years. Morden's 4 eyes were wide with shock. His translator struggled to process what he was seeing. The device had never encountered this situation before. That is a predator," Texelar whispered. The creature's head turned toward the sound, its dark eyes fixed on Texelar. For a moment, predator and prey stared at each other across millions of years of evolution. Then the creature opened its mouth and let its tongue hang out in what Dr. Park Sora would later explain was a sign of happiness. "Yes," Sergeant O said proudly. "Beck is a very good predator, one of the best." Morden tried to speak, but found his voice had stopped working. The creature was clearly an apex hunter. Its muscles moved under its fur like coiled springs. Its teeth were designed for tearing flesh. Its claws could probably cut through metal. And it was following a human around like pet, Dr. Park Sora said, as if reading his thoughts. "The word you're looking for is pet. Beck is Sergeant O's pet." "Pet?" Morden finally managed to croak. "Companion animal," Captain Taman explained. "Humans keep many different species as pets, for friendship and emotional support." The creature, Beck, suddenly did something that made Nex4 take 3 steps backward. It lay down on the ground and rolled onto its back, exposing its belly to Sergeant O. "He wants belly rubs," Sergeant O said with a smile. To the absolute horror of the Vexitari warriors, Sergeant O knelt down and began rubbing the predator's stomach with her bare hands. The creature's back leg began to kick in the air. A low, rumbling sound came from its throat. "He's purring," Dr. Park Sora said. "It means he's happy." "Purring?" Texelar repeated weakly. "A sound of contentment," Colonel Yoon explained. "Beck loves Sergeant O very much. He would do anything to protect her." As if to demonstrate this point, Sergeant O stood up and pointed across the courtyard. "Beck, fetch!" She threw a small rubber ball. The creature instantly leaped to its feet and ran after it. Its speed was incredible. It moved like flowing death, covering the distance in seconds. It caught the ball in its mouth and immediately turned around to bring it back. "Good boy," Sergeant O said when Bayek dropped the ball at her feet. She scratched behind his ears. The purring sound grew louder. Morden felt his legs becoming weak. It hunts for recreation?" "Oh no," Dr. Park Sora said. "That's just play. Would you like to see him hunt?" "No!" all 5 Vextari warriors said at once. But Dr. Park Sora was already speaking into her device again. "Private Lee, bring Hanel." To the courtyard, another human appeared. This one was younger, barely more than a child by Vexitari standards. And following him was another predator. This one was larger than Beck, with longer fur and different coloring. It had the same intelligent eyes and the same casual, unstrained movement. "This is Hanul," Private Lee Jung-ho announced. "She specializes in tracking and search operations. Hanil sniffed the air and immediately focused on the Vextari warriors. Her eyes locked onto Morden. She took a step forward. Morden took 2 steps back. "She likes you," Private Lee said cheerfully. "She probably thinks you smell interesting." "Smell interesting?" Morden repeated. "Dogs have incredible noses," Dr. Park Sora explained. "They can smell things humans cannot detect. Fear, excitement, injury, sickness. Hanul is probably learning everything about you just from your scent." "Dogs?" Nexfor asked. "That's what we call this species," Captain Taman said. "Canis lupus familiaris, domestic dogs. They evolved from wolves about 15,000 years ago." "Wolves," Texlar whispered. "Wild predators," Colonel Yoon said. "Pack hunters, very dangerous, but humans domesticated them, turned them into loyal companions." Morden's mind was reeling. You took wild predators and made them serve you?" "Not serve," Sergeant O corrected, still petting Beck. "Partner with us. Dogs choose to live with humans. We take care of them, and they help us." "Help you do what?" Morden asked, though he was afraid of the answer. "Many things," Private Lee said. "Hanul can track a scent trail that's 3 days old. She can find hidden enemies. She can detect explosives and drugs. She can attack on command or defend without being told." To demonstrate, Private Lee made a simple hand gesture. Hanul immediately moved to a defensive position between him and the Vextari warriors. Her body language changed. The friendly curiosity disappeared, replaced by alert readiness. "It's okay, girl," Private Lee said softly. "They're friends." Hanul relaxed immediately, her tail beginning to wag. "The tail movement," Dr. Park Sora explained, "means she's happy again." Morden stared at the scene before him. 2 apex predators, each capable of killing him in seconds, playing and showing affection to small, soft humans. And the humans treated it as perfectly normal. "How many of these dogs do humans have?" he asked. "On Earth?" "Hundreds of millions," Captain Taman replied casually. "Hundreds of millions?" Texler shouted. "Oh, yes," Dr. Park Sora said. "Dogs are very popular pets. Most human families have at least one." "You give these weapons to families?" Nexfor demanded. "To children?" "They're not weapons," Sergeant O said firmly. "They're family members. Beck sleeps in my bed. He plays with my niece when she visits. He's gentle and loving." As if to prove her point, she whistled softly. Beck immediately came to her side and sat down. She gave him a small treat from her pocket. He took it carefully from her fingers, making sure not to accidentally bite her. "The level of trust," Dr. Park Sora observed, "is complete on both sides." Morden watched the interaction and felt something cold settle in his stomach. The implications were staggering. Humans had somehow convinced apex predators to not only avoid hunting them, but to actively protect and serve them, out of love. "Are there other species?" he asked weakly. "Oh yes," Colonel Yoon said brightly. "Dogs are just the most common. We also have cats, birds, reptiles, fish. Dr. Kim Soo-young keeps a python as a pet." "Python?" "Large constrictor snake," Captain Taman explained. "Very dangerous, but she's had it for 10 years. It's very tame." Morden looked at his warriors. Their crystal faces showed the same expression of shock and growing terror that he felt. They had come to Earth expecting to find soft, weak creatures. Instead, they had discovered something far more frightening. A species that could inspire complete loyalty from natural killing machines through nothing but kindness and love. The most Terrifying warriors in the galaxy were not warriors at all. They were pet owners. Commander Morden sat in the human mess hall, staring at his food without eating. His 4 eyes kept moving to watch the humans around him. After seeing the dogs, everything about these creatures looked different. Their casual movements seemed more dangerous. Their calm voices sounded more threatening. Their smiles revealed teeth that suddenly looked very sharp. "Not hungry, Commander?" Dr. Park Sora asked as she sat down across from him with her own meal. "I am processing what I have seen," Morden replied carefully. At the cooking station, a human woman was preparing food. She hummed while she worked, occasionally talking to someone Morden couldn't see. "That's Chef Bang Huna," Captain Taman said, following his gaze. "She's been cooking here for 5 years, makes excellent kimchi." Chef Bang turned around, carrying a large pot. "Dr. Park, could you ask your guests if they want to try some soup? I made extra." She paused and looked down. "Nabi, get away from the stove. You know it's dangerous." Morden looked where she was, speaking, and nearly fell off his chair. A small furry creature sat near the cooking area. It was much smaller than the dogs, with a long tail and pointed ears. Its fur was orange and white, and it had large green eyes that seemed to see everything. As Morden watched, it made a soft sound and rubbed against Chef Bang's leg. "What is that?" Texlar demanded, pointing at the creature. Chef Bang looked confused. "That's Nabi, my cat. She likes to supervise when I cook." "Cat?" Next 4 repeated the word like it tasted bad. "Felis catus," Dr. Park Sora explained. "Another domesticated predator. Cats hunt smaller prey than dogs. Rodents, birds, small reptiles. The cat—" Nabi jumped onto a counter and sat down. She began grooming herself with her tongue, completely ignoring the terrified aliens. "She lives here?" Morden asked. "Of course," Chef Bang said, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. "Nabi keeps the kitchen free of mice and other pests, and she's excellent company during long shifts." She reached over and scratched the cat behind the ears. The cat closed her eyes and made a rumbling sound similar to what the dogs had made. "Another purr," Captain Taman noted. "Cats purr when they're content." Chef Bang picked up the cat and held her against her chest. The predator relaxed completely in her arms, trusting the human to support her weight. "How long have you had this, Nabi?" Morden asked. 3 years, Chef Bang replied. "I found her as a kitten. Someone had abandoned her. She was so small and hungry." Her voice became soft with memory. "I couldn't leave her to die." "So you adopted a predator out of pity?" Texlar asked in disbelief. "I adopted a friend out of love," Chef Bang corrected firmly. A new human entered the mess hall. This one carried a small device and wore the uniform of an engineer. He looked tired but happy. "Long shift, Cho Min Seok?" Dr. Park Sora called to him. Engineer Cho smiled and sat down with them. "Very long, but I got the new power coupling installed." He pulled out his device and began scrolling through images. "Want to see pictures from my daughter's birthday party?" Before anyone could answer, he turned the device toward them. The image showed a small human child, maybe 6 years old, sitting on the ground. Surrounding her were 3 dogs, all larger than she was. One had its head in her lap while she petted it. Another was lying next to her, and the third was playing with a colorful ball. "My daughter Yunbi loves our dogs," Engineer Cho said proudly. "Bomi, Chewy, and Max, they're very gentle with her." Morden stared at the image in horror. You allow your offspring near these predators? Allow? Engineer Cho looked confused. Of course. Dogs are wonderful with children, very protective. Bomi has been with our family since before Yunbi was born. She helps watch over her. He scrolled to another image. This one showed the child asleep in a bed, with one of the large dogs lying next to her like a furry guardian. They sleep together? Next 4 whispered. Every night, Engineer Cho confirmed. Yunbi feels safer with Bomi nearby, and Bomi would never let anything harm her. What if the predator decides to hunt your child? Texelar asked. Engineer Cho looked shocked. Hunt Yunbi? That's impossible. Dogs don't hunt their family members. They protect them. He showed them more pictures. The child playing in a yard with the dogs. The child feeding them treats. The child hugging them while they licked her face with their tongues. The level of trust, Dr. Park Sora observed quietly, goes both ways. The dogs trust humans completely, and humans trust them in return. A voice came over the facility's communication system. Dr. Kang Yunwoo to the mess hall. Dr. Kang Yunwoo to the mess hall. A few minutes later, another human arrived. This one wore the white coat of a scientist and carried a tablet computer. Dr. Kang, Colonel Yoon called. Perfect timing. Our guests have questions about domestication. Dr. Kang sat down and activated his tablet. Ah, the Vextari delegation. I prepared some information for you. The tablet projected images into the air above the table. Domestication is perhaps humanity's greatest achievement. The first image showed what looked like a large, wild dog with yellow eyes and bared fangs. This is Canis lupus, Dr. Kang explained. The gray wolf. The ancestor of all domestic dogs. 15,000 years ago, some wolves began following human hunting groups. They ate scraps from human kills. The image changed to show early humans sitting around a fire. Several wolf-like creatures sat at the edge of the light. Over generations, the friendliest wolves were fed more often. They had more offspring. Slowly, their appearance began to change. Their ears became more floppy. Their tails curled up. Their faces became less threatening. More images showed the progression. Wild wolves becoming something that looked more and more like modern dogs. But the most important change was behavioral, Dr. Kang continued. Domesticated dogs developed an incredible ability to understand human emotions and commands. They learned to read our facial expressions, our body language, even our tone of voice. You bred them to be slaves, Texelar accused. No. Dr. Kang said firmly. We bred them to be partners. Modern dogs are not like their wolf ancestors. They have been shaped by thousands of generations of cooperation with humans. They are genuinely happy serving alongside us. He showed a new image. This one was a brain scan, showing 2 different brains side by side. Wolf brain versus dog brain, Dr. Kang explained. Notice the differences in the areas that control social bonding and emotional response. Dogs have evolved to love humans. It's literally built into their brains. Morden stared at the scan. You changed their minds? Made them incapable of betraying you? Not incapable, Dr. Kang corrected. Unwilling. Dogs can choose to disobey humans, but they rarely want to. Making their human happy makes them happy. Chef Bang, who had been listening while continuing to hold her cat, spoke up. It's the same with cats, though they're more independent. Nabi could leave anytime she wants. The door is never locked, but she stays because this is her home. And how many species have humans domesticated? Morden asked, dreading the answer. Dr. Kang consulted his tablet. Depends how you count. Major domesticated species include dogs, cats, horses, cattle, pigs, sheep, goats, chickens, ducks, geese. He continued listing for nearly a minute. But those are livestock, Captain Taman added. Food animals and work animals. The predators we keep as pets are different. We have pet snakes, lizards, spiders, even some big cats in special facilities. Big cats? Nexfor asked weakly. Lions, tigers, leopards, Dr. Park Sora said. Though, those require special permits and training. They're much more dangerous than dogs and cats. Engineer Cho showed them another picture on his device. My neighbor has a pet python, 3 meters long. Her name is Princess. The image showed a massive snake coiled around a human woman's shoulders. The woman was smiling and looked completely relaxed. Princess is very gentle, Engineer Cho continued. Though she did eat my neighbor's ex-boyfriend's dog once, but that was an accident. The Vextari warriors stared at him in shock. Joke, Engineer Cho said quickly. Human humor. Princess only eats pre-killed rats. Morden put his head in his hands. The more he learned about humans and their pets, the more disturbed he became. These creatures had taken the natural order of the universe and turned it completely upside down. Predators served them willingly. Children played safely with beings that could kill them in seconds, and humans treated all of this as perfectly normal. Commander, Dr. Park Sora said gently, you look overwhelmed. I am beginning to understand, Mordoon said slowly, why your planet is classified as a death world. Oh? Colonel Yoon asked with interest. It is not because the environment is dangerous, Mordoon continued. It is because it produced you. A species capable of inspiring absolute loyalty from natural killers through nothing but kindness. A species that can turn enemies into family, members. He looked around the mess hall at all the humans eating and talking and laughing, normal activities that now seemed terrifying in their implications. If you can do this to wolves and large cats, he said quietly, what could you do to other thinking species? The humans exchanged those looks again, the ones that said they understood something he did not. We would never force domestication on a sentient species, Dr. Park Sora said firmly. That would be slavery, and we oppose slavery. But friendship, Captain Taman added with a small smile, is always offered freely. Morden felt a chill run through his crystal bones. He was beginning to understand. The journey back to the orbital station felt like a dream to Commander Morden. He sat in the shuttle, staring out at Earth's blue and white surface, trying to process everything he had learned. His 4 eyes kept moving to watch Captain Taman, who piloted the craft with the same casual skill he showed in everything else. Behind him, his warriors sat in stunned silence. Texler kept muttering under his breath about impossible loyalty and natural order broken. Nexfor had not spoken since seeing Engineer Cho's pictures of children playing with predators. Commander, Captain Taman said as they approached, the station. I hope our demonstrations were helpful. Helpful, Morden repeated slowly. Yes, very educational. Dr. Park Sora, who had joined them for the return trip, smiled that unsettling human smile. We understand this is a lot to process. Most alien species find human-animal relationships difficult to understand at first. At first, Morden said. Do they ever truly understand? Some do, Dr. Park Sora replied. Others find it too disturbing. The concept that predators can love their supposed prey challenges many fundamental beliefs about the nature of the universe. As they docked with the station, Morden saw something that made his crystal skin feel cold. Waiting in the docking bay was another human. This one wore more decorations on her uniform than any of the others. Her bearing showed command authority that reached even higher than Colonel Yoon's. "Admiral Song Ji-hyo," Captain Taman announced as they disembarked. "She wanted to meet you before you departed." Admiral Song stepped forward. She was older than the other humans, with gray streaking her black hair. Her eyes held the kind of depth that came from years of difficult decisions. But what made Morden freeze was what stood beside her, another dog. This one was different from Beck and Hanul, smaller but somehow more intense. Its fur was dark with tan markings. Its ears stood upright, and its eyes seemed to see everything, at once. The creature looked like concentrated danger wrapped in fur. "Commander Morden," Admiral Song said with a respectful bow. "Welcome. I apologize for not meeting you sooner. Military duties kept me busy." "Admiral," Morden managed to say. His eyes kept moving to the dog at her side. "This is Rex," Admiral Song said, noticing his attention. "He's been my partner for 8 years. Rex is a Belgian Malinois, specialized for protection and detection work." Rex sat perfectly still beside the Admiral. His posture showed training and discipline that would impress any military officer. But his eyes never stopped moving, constantly scanning for threats to his human. 8 years? Texlar asked weakly. "Rex and I have served together in 14 different conflicts," Admiral Song explained. "He has saved my life more times than I can count, and I have protected him just as often. That is what partnership means." She reached down and gently touched Rex's head. The dog's intense expression softened slightly, but he remained alert. "Your reports on human capabilities," Admiral Song continued, "have been forwarded to the Galactic Federation Council. They make for interesting reading." Morden felt his confidence crumble completely. "Admiral, I must ask, how many humans understand what you have achieved?" "What do you mean?" "The domestication process. The creation of loyal predators. Do all humans know they have accomplished something impossible?" Admiral Song looked genuinely puzzled. "Commander, we haven't accomplished anything impossible. We simply formed friendships with other species. It's the most natural thing in the world." "Natural?" Nex 4 burst out. "You have convinced apex predators to serve you willingly. You have broken the fundamental laws of evolution." "Have we?" Dr. Park Sora asked mildly. "Or have we simply found a different way to evolve? Cooperation instead of domination?" Admiral Song nodded. "Commander, may I ask what the Vextari consider their greatest military achievement?" Morden thought for a moment. "The conquest of the Zephyrian Empire. We defeated their entire military in 6 months. Defeated them through superior weapons. And tactics? Yes. And now the Zephyrians serve in your auxiliary forces?" "They are required to provide troops as tribute," Morden admitted. Admiral Song's expression became sad. "Required. Forced. Enslaved, in other words. They are conquered. People. It is the natural order." "The natural order," Admiral Song repeated. She looked down at Rex, who gazed back at her with obvious devotion. "Rex is not conquered, Commander. He is not forced to serve me. He chooses to, every day, because we are family." "But that is impossible," Texler protested. Predators do not serve prey willingly. Then perhaps, Dr. Parksora said quietly, humans are not prey. The words hung in the air like a physical presence. Morden felt their truth settling into his mind like cold metal. Humans were not prey. They had never been prey. They were something else entirely. Your species, he said slowly, evolved on a death world not as victims but as the apex predators. Partially correct, Admiral Song agreed. But we learned something that most apex predators never discover. We learned that cooperation is more powerful than domination, that love creates stronger bonds than fear. She gestured around the station. Every human here could leave tomorrow if they chose. Join other species, seek other opportunities. But they stay because they believe in what we are building together. And the dogs? Mordoon asked. Rex could run away any time, Admiral Song said. The doors are not locked. No chains hold him. But he stays because this is his pack, because he loves me and I love him. Rex's tail wagged slightly at the word love. His eyes remained fixed on Admiral Song's face. I have served in many wars, Admiral Song continued. I have seen species conquered through force. They serve because they must, but they rebel when they can. They sabotage when possible. Fear creates obedience, but not loyalty. And love creates loyalty, Dr. Parksora added. True loyalty that lasts for generations. Morden looked at his warriors. Their crystal faces showed the same realization he felt growing in his mind. The humans had not just domesticated animals. They had discovered something far more powerful than any weapon. Admiral, he said carefully, what would the Galactic Federation gain by accepting humans into our military forces? Admiral Song smiled. It was the same expression all the humans used, but now Morden understood what it really meant. It was not a threat or a challenge. It was an offer of friendship. What would you gain? She repeated. You would gain allies who serve not because they are forced to, but because they choose to. Humans who will stand beside you not from fear, but from loyalty. And if we refuse this alliance, then you refuse it, Admiral Song said simply. We will not force ourselves upon anyone. Force creates enemies, not friends. But you would remember. The refusal, Nexophore said. We would remember, Dr. Parksora agreed, but it would not change how we treat you. Friendship is offered freely and must be accepted freely, or it is not true friendship. Morden felt something he had never experienced before. For the first time in his military career, he was not thinking about conquest or defeat. He was thinking about partnership. Admiral, he said slowly, I will recommend to the Federation Council that humanity be immediately accepted into our defense forces, not as auxiliary troops, but as full military partners. That is very generous, Admiral Song replied. But we have one condition. Morden tensed. What condition? That any species who serves alongside humans does so voluntarily. We will not work with slave soldiers or conquered peoples. Our allies must be true allies. The request was unprecedented. The Galactic Federation had always used conquered species as auxiliary forces. It was the natural order, the way things had always been done. But as Morden looked at Rex, still sitting calmly beside Admiral Song, he realized that the natural order might be wrong. I will convey your condition to the Council, he said. Thank you, Commander. As they prepared to depart, Morden took one last look around the human station. Everything looked different now. The bright colors and growing plants were not signs of weakness, but evidence of a species that brought life with them wherever they went. The casual behavior of the humans was not ignorance of danger, but confidence born from being the deadliest. Things on their planet, and their pets, their impossible, loyal, loving predators, were proof that humans had found a way to turn enemies into family members through nothing but kindness. "Admiral Song," he said as they reached the docking bay. "Your species frightens me." Admiral Song nodded, understanding. "Our species frightens many people at first. But fear can become respect, and respect can become friendship, if given time. And if someone chooses to remain an enemy," Admiral Song's expression became serious, "then they remain an enemy. But they learn, as our ancestors learned 15,000 years ago, that humans are very good at dealing with those who threaten our pack." Rex's ears perked up at the word pack. His tail wagged once, and his eyes fixed on Admiral Song with pure devotion. "Yes," Mordun said quietly. "I believe." "They do." As the Vextari shuttle departed the station, Mordun found himself thinking about the future. The Federation would never be the same once humans joined it. Species that had served as slaves for generations might finally understand what it meant to be true allies. And perhaps, if they were very fortunate, they might learn what humans had discovered long ago on their distant death world. That love was the strongest force in the universe, even stronger than fear.